Listeners of the deep below, we welcome you to a new story, and as always, ask you to visit the author's work, as well as visit us on other social media platforms. Welcome to the story. A perplexing thought just struck me. How did I not consider this earlier? Is this place distorting my perception of time? Or is time truly distorted? I've been here for a week, 2 weeks, but that's impossible. Well, I suppose I should not be shocked. Everything about this house, mansion, a labyrinth. This place is impossible. I've been here for so long. I haven't eaten. I haven't slept, drank, or even seen another person for days. Surely, if it's been a week or two, I'd have passed out or starved by now. That's not to say I feel fine. I absolutely hate this place. I've just been going forwards and downwards for the most part. The occasional large chunk heading in a completely different direction, here and there. But there is no way I would have looped back to this hole. And yet, seen it a dozen times already. Same blood red carpet stretching through. A golden fabric lines the edges of it. Looking in the space between the golden woven string feels like looking through a crack in a door. A new location, too narrow and complex to be comfortably inhabited by an insect. In it is tunnels that seem to stretch almost a meter down. However, when I pull up the carpet, there's nothing underneath it. The carpet is only an inch thick, but somehow leads to such a long tunnel, apparently. Beneath the carpet is a pale, planked wood floor. I thank myself for wearing shoes when I came here. When I spot the chunk of floor, where thousands of tiny splinters periodically poke out, flowing to the left of me, diagonally down the hallway. It's like watching water flow down a river or a tin hose. The wall is wooden, painted in a crimson red. This scent of this place is a confusing mix of rotting wood, a fresh paint lingering in the air. I can hear the creaking of an old wooden floor, muffled behind the door, like footsteps. And there's muffled sliding and clacking of clay roof tiles, a huge distance behind me, and a couple dozen levels above me. The idea of hearing a nuke go off on the Earth's surface is a joke to me. And this place has been completely swallowed by earth. I sometimes wonder if there is anything directly beyond the silent areas of the walls. So I bang on them, and them responded to with echo of a hollow wall. The entrance to the room probably takes an hour-long detour and obscure tunnel behind an opening window in some bedroom. Not that that's something I haven't seen before. The only dead ends you can find in this house is in most of the bedrooms and closets. Even in the weirdest of places, you'll probably find a path leading deeper into this labyrinth. I finally reach the door and creak it open. I walk through and it closes behind me without my influence. The strange thing about that hall is that, again, I've seen it multiple times, but each time it somehow leads to a new room I've never seen before. I hear something that freezes my blood. There is something nearby. There is the sound of something large breathing ahead of me. Whether or not it is simply that, a sound, or an actual creature, is impossible to tell. In front of me is a dining table lit up by a single lantern. The surrounding walls and ceiling are barely visible in the orange, weak light. The left side of the room is filled with white, reflecting metal of kitchenware that resembles glowing eyes. The bottom half of the room is swallowed by the shadow cast by the table and its contents. The table is filled with half-empty glasses filled with various colored liquids. The plates are littered with partially eaten vegetables and steaks. Noticing the cutlery pointing at me in unnerving. Even the chairs placed in such a way where it looks like I'm some sort of television everyone's taking glimpses at while they eat. It looks like a typical family scene on this wooden, rectangular table. I've seen similar scenes implying the life of others before. These places look like they would have been untouched for years. This idea is conflicted when I notice this house has no dust. The food on the plates is fresh and hot. It feels like an entire family suddenly disappeared. And that's in the vague hope I'm not the only human here. Maybe there is a family in here and they're avoiding me. The same way I do when I hear something approaching. If I ever heard them, I'd never know it's them and not some deceitful creature. Considering the darkness of the room and the breathing echoing down the paranormal Arctic tissue, I figure I better go back and hope that there is a different route. I push it open, but it stops. I can't even nudge it forwards. It completely freezes beyond a certain point. I look in the tiny crack, and there is a strange material. It's like rusted metal. The parts that are clean remain still, while the rusted areas pulse like veins. How could have this thing gotten to the door? There was nothing near it that could have fallen to block it. The house must have placed it there. Whatever that thing is, it can't be a prop or creature, because otherwise I would be able to challenge the barrier. But if it is, it would have to be enormous to stop the door with such firmness. I snapped the door shut just in case of that thing reacting to the presence of an insect like me. I walk back to the table, pick up the lantern by its rusty handle, and look ahead of the table. Beyond it is an archway framing a gradient of light from my right, illuminating a fancy, green patterned wall. I walk towards the new scarcely lit room, tucking my lantern behind me to avoid signaling my presence to whatever lies ahead with its light. As the distance closes to the archway, the breathing grows louder. I look at the green, patterned wall ahead of me. It's an array of lighter green dots that split and spiral out into the outline of a love heart that was split open from its top corner. The two top ends of the lines split off into four finer lines. It spirals, multiplying each rotation. The precision of it is inhuman. In fact, the lines reach such a point where I doubt any printer could generate it. This tea-plate-sized fractal is repeated hundreds of times across the wall. I peek out of the archway and look to my left. There is a strange comfort to be found in the fact I cannot feel the breathing on my face, and that it sounds like it's only a single floor above me. I slowly peek out with my lantern by my side. Its faint light sweeping across the room, revealing a staircase going down at the end of the hall, and an ascending staircase to its right, both of which lead into a pitch-black void. I look back to the other side of the hallway. I curse myself for not taking a swift glance both ways and sticking my head out like the victim of a guillotine. There is nothing but a ceiling light filling up that area, making a windowed silver door stick out like a bleeding thumb. It's comforting, like something wants me to go there. I've had that feeling a few times prior, and it turned out fine, so it might be this time. There is no way I'm going to the other dark side of the hallway. I slowly creep down the hall, ignoring a window I pass by, knowing it will spoil the uncharted contents beyond the door. I push open the door, leading me to a wire-frame balcony, stretching around the end of an alleyway. I invite the cold, moist air. I spot the dark and wet brick walls, marking the faces of the alleyway. there is still not the slightest hint of a breeze. On top of the door I came from is a wide, open window with a concrete shelf sticking out like all of the windows in this alleyway. I lean on the balcony adjacent to the door and look back in the direction I came from. An arch connects a part of the building where the ascending staircase would be. The wall reaches to a roof only 10 meters above me. It is painted with a blood-red flannel pattern. The strings of the flannel look like tiny landscapes, shaped in the tiniest detail. The paint seems to barely stick out from the roof, no more than a millimeter. Yet, the talented artist makes the details of the flannel reach a little further at me. I look back down to the right-angled balcony, which makes a path to a new door on the other side of the alley. Next to it is a spotlight attached to a pole, illuminating the whole immediate area, but not what lies below the balcony. I peer through the barred floor. The light fades down to the side of the alley, about 20 meters, before reaching pure black. I look back at the door by the spotlight and the windows near it, figuring that the rooms are well lit. This persuades me to drop my lantern down the alley to see how far it goes. I slowly open my palm, slipping the lantern out of my hand. I count the seconds it falls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It smashes on another balcony, extinguishing the small and distant light. It causes that breathing I have filtered from my hearing by now to stutter. It knocks into the two walls like a pinball, the sound of crashing growing fainter each time. The roof of the hall I exit at creaks and strains under the weight of something. My head snaps to the window above me. Goosebumps tangling my skin. A large, black figure reaches out of the window above me. It somehow manages to both absorb light, give off a crimson reflection of it, dotted like sand. Each bump constructed of a dozen veins, overlapping each other. Its shape might be comparable to a tentacle, but that is a vain description. It looks like 1,000 baby hands poking out of the elastic skin. Each hand unique in the way the fingers are either broken or snapped off completely. Trying to comprehend it strains my mind and adds to my panic. It begins to fall on me, swallowing my vision. I fall on my back and try to crawl backwards, but it has already caught my feet. It lifts my legs as the mass travels up my body and I sink into. First, it tears at my clothes like a shredder. It quickly rips through my useless defense, then pinches and tears my skin, my blood spraying everywhere, blinding me. It tears away at muscles. I feel lightheaded. The shredding pain is unbearable. I can feel myself slipping away. My mind slows and eventually stops.